ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 9, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. So we are starting with the final section of this chapter, where Supreme Lord is going to reply Brahmaji. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha 629. Yeah. Ma Vedagarbha Gastandrim Sarge Udyamavaha Tanmaya Apaditam Hi Yanmaya Prarthayate Bhavan. Translation.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead then said, O Brahma, O depth of Vedic wisdom, be neither depressed nor anxious about the execution of creation. What you are begging from me has already been granted before. Purport. Any person authorized by either the Lord or by his bona fide representative is already blessed, as is the work entrusted to him. Of course, the person entrusted with such a responsibility should always be aware of his incapability and must always look for the mercy of the Lord for the successful execution of his duty. One should not be puffed up because he is entrusted with certain executive work. Fortunate is he who is so entrusted, and if he is always fixed in the sense of being subordinate to the will of the Supreme, he is sure to come out successful in the discharge of his work. Arjuna was entrusted with the work of fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And before he was so entrusted, the Lord had already arranged for his victory. But Arjuna was always conscious of his position as subordinate to the Lord, and thus he accepted him as the supreme guide in his responsibility. Anyone who takes pride in doing responsible work but does not give credit to the Supreme Lord is certainly falsely proud and cannot execute anything nicely. Brahma and persons in the line of his disciplic succession who follow in his footsteps are always successful in the discharge of loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna.
Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Bhagavan, began to speak. And when he is speaking, this is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, when the Supreme Lord is speaking to Brahmaji at the birth of Brahma after he has performed his tapasya and he is going to beginning the Visarga activities, that is the secondary creation. So this is the time when the Supreme Lord is speaking to Ma Veda Garbha. He is saying, Oh Veda Garbha, oh Brahma, be neither depressed nor anxious about the execution of the duties. What you are asking, begging from me, is already being granted before. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, any authorized person or the bona fide representative of the Lord is already blessed. How is already blessed? Already blessed by the instruction itself. Prithvi tyache yad nagaradigram sarvatra prachar hoibe moranam. Simply by giving instruction, the Lord is blessing his devotee. At the same time, the performer is always aware of his incapability to perform such humongous work. Actually, Prabhupada is writing his poem, Bhakti Nahi, Veda Nahi, that beautiful prayer, Markino Bhagavad Dharma, on Jaladuta. So he's praying that, my dear Lord, you are bringing me to such a unknown continent and I am so incapable. Na chao, make me dance as you like. So this is, a devotee is always incapable. Otherwise, he will become puffed up. Prabhupada says, fortunate are those who are entrusted with such responsibility and they have always the feeling of being subordination. Arjuna was in such a position. Arjuna was supposed to fight a tremendous war of Kurukshetra, and at the same time he was conscious of his position being subordinate to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one should take pride in performing such duty and give due credit to the Supreme Lord, being neither depressed nor being anxious. And this is being done by Brahmaji, Arjuna, and we see Srila Prabhupada doing this exactly very well. And this is how one can discharge the transcendental loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Text 30. भूयस्त्वं तपाप्तिष्ठ विद्यां चैव मदाश्रयाम् ताभ्याम् अंतर्हृदिर्ब्रह्मन् लोकान् द्रक्ष्यसि अपावृतान्. Translation.
O Brahma, situate yourself in penance and meditation and follow the principles of knowledge to receive my favor. By these actions, you will be able to understand everything from within your heart. Purport. The mercy the Lord bestows upon a particular person engaged in executing the responsible work entrusted unto him is beyond imagination. But his mercy is received due to our penance and perseverance in executing devotional service. Brahma was entrusted with the work of creating the planetary systems. The Lord instructed him that when he meditated, he would very easily know where and how the planetary systems must be arranged. The directions were to come from within, and there was no necessity for anxiety in that task. Such instructions of Buddhi Yoga are directly imparted by the Lord from within, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 10.10. Hare Krishna.
O Brahma, situate yourself in penance and meditation. So the Lord is asking tapa and meditation, madashrayam, and follow the principles of the knowledge. And by my favor, everything that is to be known for the creation will be known to you from within. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord bestows a mercy upon a particular person. Who is that person? Engaged in execution of the responsible work, and that empowerment is beyond imagination. Like the classical example is Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said later, people will wonder that, one person did the whole thing. Translation of so many books, 84 volumes Prabhupada translated, referring 15 commentaries, establishing 108 temples in different continents, writing 7,000 letters, initiating 7,000, 8,000 disciples. One person doing this in just a span of 10 years. So the empowerment is beyond imagination. But this mercy is received due to our penance and the perseverance in executing devotional service. Right. And one can see Srila Prabhupada's life of penance and execution of devotional service. When you read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit, there you will see lifetime of preparation. That is the first chapter. Second chapter is crying in wilderness. And then later follows last 10 years of Srila Prabhupada, where he is opening temples as somebody opens shutters in the morning, right? Across the continents. So the mercy of the Lord is received due to our penance and perseverance in executing devotional service. This is very important. Therefore, Yagyadana Tapadibhi is always recommended. Lord instructed Brahmaji, he said that, my dear Brahma, you will very easily know where and how to situate the planetary systems from within. There is no need of anxiety of performing this task. Text 31. ततात्मनि लोके च भक्तियुक्तः समाहितः द्रष्टुसीमां ततः ब्रह्मन् मयि लोकान् त्वमात्मनः. Translation.
O Brahma, you are absorbed in devotional service in the course of your creative activities. You will see me in you and throughout the universe, and you will see that you yourself, the universe, and the living entities are all in me. Purport. It is cited herein by the Lord that during his daytime, Brahma would see him as Lord Sri Krishna. He would appreciate how the Lord expanded himself into all the calves. During his childhood at Vrindavan, he would know how Yashodamai saw all the universes and planetary systems within the mouth of Krishna during his playful childhood pastimes. And he would also see that there are many millions of Brahmas during the appearance of the Lord Krishna in Brahma's daytime. But all these manifestations of the Lord, appearing everywhere in his eternal transcendental forms, cannot be understood by anyone but the pure devotees, who are always engaged in the devotional service to the Lord and are fully absorbed in the Lord. The high qualifications of Brahma are also indicated herein.
So the Lord said, "You are being so absorbed in devotional service, soon you will see me. You will also see that you yourself and the universe and living entities are also in me." So Srila Prabhupada here gives a very beautiful Leela perspective to this purport. So this verse is very similar to Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavhyaktamurtina matsthani sarvabhutani. So, but here Srila Prabhupada gives, Srila Prabhupada enters in the mood of the Supreme Lord and says, "My dear Brahma, you will be performing such penance and meditation, and in the due course of performing your activities within your daytime, I myself will manifest, and you will participate in one of the Leela that is called as Brahma Vimohan Leela. You will see me as Lord Krishna. You will appreciate how I have expanded as the calves and the boys, and so many in a different expansions. You will see many millions of Brahmas, and during this pastime, oh my pure devotee, you will be engaged in devotional service." So the Lord is assuring and also giving glimpse to Brahmaji that very soon he is going to see him in his daytime. Look forward performing your duty. Text 32. यदा तु सर्वभूतेषु दारुष्वग्निम् इव स्थितं प्रतिचक्षितमां लोके जह्यात् तर्हि एव कश्मलम्. Translation.
You will see me in all living entities as well as all over the universe, just as fire is situated in wood. Only in that state of transcendental vision will you be able to be free from all kinds of illusion. Purport. Brahma prayed that he might not forget his eternal relationship with the Lord during the course of his material activities. In answer to that prayer, the Lord said that he should not think of existing without a relationship with his omnipotency. The example is given of a fire in wood. The fire kindled in wood is always the same, although wood may be of different types. Similarly, the bodies within the material creation may be specifically different according to shape and quality, but the spirit soul within them are not different from one another. The quality of fire, warmth, is the same everywhere, and the spiritual spark, or part and parcel of the Supreme Spirit, is the same in every living being. Thus, the potency of the Lord is distributed all over his creation. This transcendental knowledge alone can save one from the contamination of material illusion. Since the Lord's potency is distributed everywhere, a pure soul or devotee of the Lord can see everything in relationship with the Lord, and therefore he has no affection for the outer coverings. That pure spiritual conception makes him immune to all contamination of material association. The pure devotee never forgets the touch of the Lord in all circumstances. Hare Krishna.
He said, "O Brahma, you will see me in all living entities and all over the universe, just like the fire is situated in the wood. And thus you will be free from all kinds of illusion." In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, Brahmaji prayed that let me not forget my eternal relationship with you, O Supreme Lord, in the due course of material activities. Because I will be engrossed in so many activities, let me not forget you. And the purport, and further the Lord said, he should not think of existing without a relationship with the Supreme Lord. Right. An example here given is fire in the wood. One may see different types of wood, but ultimately there is the same fire, Agni, which is situated within the Daru. Daru is the wood here. Right. So Daru Brahma, it's called as wood. So that is another word for the wood. Wood Sanskrit is called as Daru. So just like within the wood, there is fire is situated. Similarly, the wood of material bodies may be of different size, but within every wood, every material body, there is the same spirit soul, which is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So every living entity is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and thus the potency of the Lord is distributed across the living entities. And Prabhupada says this transcendental knowledge alone can save one from the contamination of material illusion. Right? Thus, one will not be getting attracted by the outer covering, but one will realize that the outer wood may appear different, but the inner fire is the same. And similarly, the living entities externally may appear in different species, but the original living entity within that body is all spiritual and part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Thus, realizing this, Prabhupada says, Brahmaji is instructed to perform his activities, and this is the way a pure devotee never forgets the touch of the Lord in any circumstances. Okay. Text 33. यदा रहितमात्मानं भूतेन्द्रियगुणाशयै स्वरूपेण मयोपेतं पश्चन् स्वाराज्यं मृच्छति. Translation.
When you are free from the conception of gross and subtle bodies, and when your senses are free from all influences of the modes of material nature, you will realize your pure form in my association. At that time, you will be situated in pure consciousness. Purport. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is said that a person whose only desire is to render transcendental loving service to the Lord is a free person in any condition of material existence. That service attitude is the Swarupa or real form of the living entity. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also confirms this statement by declaring that the real spiritual form of the living entity is eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord. The Mayavada school shudders at the thought of a service attitude in the living entity, not knowing that in the transcendental world, the service of the Lord is based on transcendental love. Transcendental loving service is never to be compared to the forced service of the material world. In the material world, even if one is under the conception that he is no one's servant, he is still the servant of his senses under the dictation of the material modes. Factually, no one is master here in the material world, and therefore the servants of the senses have a very bad experience of servitude. They shudder at the thought of service because they have no knowledge of the transcendental position. In transcendental loving service, the servitor is as free as the Lord. The Lord is Swarat or fully independent, and the servant is also fully independent or Swarat in the spiritual atmosphere because there is no forced service. There, the transcendental loving service is due to spontaneous love. A reflected glimpse of such service is experienced in the service of the mother unto the son, the friend's service unto the friend, or the wife's service unto the husband. These reflections of service by friends, parents, or wives are not forced, but are due only to love. Here in this material world, however, the loving service is only a reflection. The real service or service in Swarupa is present in the transcendental world in association with the Lord. The very same service in transcendental love can be practiced in devotion here. This verse is also applicable to the Jnani school. The enlightened Jnani, when free from all material contaminations, namely the gross and subtle bodies, together with the senses of the material modes of nature, is placed in the Supreme and is thus liberated from material bondage. The Jnanis and the devotees are actually in agreement up to the point of liberation from material contamination. But whereas the Jnanis remain pacified on the platform of simple understanding, the devotees develop further spiritual advancement in loving service. The devotees develop a spiritual individuality in their spontaneous service attitude, which is enhanced on and on up to the point of Madhurya Ras or transcendental loving service reciprocated between the lover and the beloved.
The Lord further says, when you are free from the conception of the gross and subtle bodies, and when your senses are free from all influence of the modes of material nature, you will realize your pure form in my association. So, realizing his pure form, and Srila Prabhupada explains this as Swarupa, in association with the Supreme Lord. And at that time, you will be situated in pure consciousness. Srila Prabhupada quotes here the definition of Jivan Muktaha Sa Uchyate Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, that if the person's only desire is to render transcendental living service, then he is free from material existence. And this service attitude is actually the real Swarupa of the living entity. So, what is the real Swarupa? Real Dharma, real Swarupa is to serve and is to love. And this is to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when you say love and serve eternally, that means to become eternal servant. Prabhupada says the Mayavad school shudders at the thought of eternal service. Why? Because they have a very perverted experience of the service in the material world. Service in the material world uh, is not very satisfying. Service in the material world is any employee will always feel that he's underpaid. How much ever is the pay of the person? Any master will always look for, nowadays there is a new trend of cutting off the people in their mid 40s, mid 50s, mid 40s only, right? That somebody becomes 38, 39, 42, 45, their salaries are so high that people want him to let go and have somebody fresh who can come at one third of the salary. So the material service is always fraught with so many limitations. And therefore, when one thinks of it to becoming eternal servant of the Lord, Prabhupada says the Mayavad school shudders at the thought. But they do not realize that in the spiritual world, there is not much difference between master and the servant. Master is Swarat, and so also the servant is Swarat. He is also fully independent, but there is voluntary submission by the virtue of being Swarupa. It's just like the fish taking shelter of the water of the ocean and becoming eternally liberated within the ocean. So, Prabhupada says the spiritual atmosphere, there is no forced service. This is all due to transcendent, spontaneous, transcendental love. And the glimpses of such service is mother service, friend service, or the wife service, where there is no force, but there is, out of natural affection, this service is being rendered. Prabhupada says this verse is also applicable to the Jnani school. So, between Jnani and Bhakta, there is not much difference till the point of liberation. At liberation, Jnanis are happy simply at Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. Whereas Prabhupada says the devotees develop further spiritual advancement and develop their association with the Supreme Lord even up to the point of Madhurya Ras, the exchange of lover and the beloved. So this is the advancement of a devotee over the jnani. Text 34. नाना कर्म वितानेन प्रजाबर्हि शिक्षुक्षतः नात्मा अवसिदति अस्मिन् ते वर्षियान् मतानुग्रहात्. Translation.
Since you have desired to increase the population innumerably and expand your varieties of service, you shall never be deprived in this matter because my causeless mercy upon you will always increase for all time. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord, being cognizant of the facts of the particular time, object, and circumstances, always desires to expand the number of devotees of the Lord in various ways. Such expansions of transcendental service may appear to be material to the materialist, but factually they are expansions of the causeless mercy of the Lord towards the devotee. Plans for such activities may appear to be material activities, but they are different in potency, being engaged in the satisfaction of the transcendental sense of the Supreme.
Further, the Lord says, since you are desiring to increase the population innumerably and expand your variety of service, be assured that my causeless mercy upon you will always increase with due course of time. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, pure devotees of the Lord, they are cognizant of the fact that Lord's desire to expand the number of living entities, and Prabhupada translates here living entities as Vaishnavas, because originally every living entity is a Vaishnava. So Brahmaji looking forward expanding the living entities, and Prabhupada says similarly a devotee should look forward expanding the Vaishnava community number of devotees. And with the expansion of devotees, there is guaranteed mercy, the expansion of the causeless mercy of the Lord towards the devotees. And therefore, Prabhupada says here, the plans for such activities may appear to be material, how to expand the preaching, but factually they are not material. They are plans to expand satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Text 35. ऋषिमाद्यं न बध्नाति पापियास्त्वां रजो गुणः यन्मनो मयि निर्बुद्धं प्रजा सृजतोऽपि ते. Translation.
Translation. You are the original Rishi, and because your mind is always fixed on me, even though you'll be engaged in generating various progeny, the vicious mode of passion will never encroach upon you. Purport. The same assurance is given to Brahma in the second canto, chapter 9, verse 36. Being so favored by the Lord, Brahma's schemes and plans are all infallible. If sometimes Brahma is seen to be bewildered, as in the 10th canto, he is bewildered by seeing the action of the internal potency. That is also for his further advancement in transcendental service. Arjuna is found to be similarly bewildered. All such bewilderment of the pure devotees of the Lord is specifically meant for their further advancement in knowledge of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
So he says, my dear Brahma, you are the Rishi Madhyam, you are the original Rishi. Your mind is always absorbed on me. And even though you may be engaged in this activity of generating progeny, the vicious mode of passion will not overpower you. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Brahmaji was having similar fear, and previously 2.9.36, Brahmaji is also assured the same thing, that this material world will not bind you, Brahma. At times one may see, occasionally there is a Brahma Vimohan Leela, but that Vimohan is also for the further advancement of Brahmaji, and Brahmaji is brought even closer to the Supreme Lord, but that kind of a Vimohan. Just like Prabhupada says, Arjuna was similarly bewildered, Arjuna Vishad Yog, but that bewilderment is a special mercy of a Supreme Lord for the advancement of that particular devotee. And through that devotee, advancement of humanity. So Arjuna was apparently bewildered by the plan of the Lord, but that by bewilderment, we received Bhagavad Gita, which was very special mercy on Arjuna and upon all the living entities. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय,
जय।
गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। थैंक यू
जय।
प्रभुपाद, थैंक यू
Thank
एवरीवन।
you,
हरे
Prabhupada.
कृष्ण।
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhupada. Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.